Let me hit you with a truth that might just flip your whole mindset if you let it sink in. The wealthiest people in the world, they aren't people with jobs. They aren't saving pennies and waiting for raises. Statistically, 75% of the ultra-wealthy are entrepreneurs. 15% are investors, 7% inherited wealth, 3% are entertainers, athletes, and artists, and 0% are employees who just clock in and collect a paycheck. So if you want to handle your money like the 1%, the first step is understanding what all those groups have in common. Let's break it down. Entrepreneurs, they own businesses. Investors, they own assets. Trust fund kids, they own trusts. Artists and athletes, they own rare skills. The key word here, own. And now, because if you don't own something, you are what's owned. That's the quiet truth no one ever teaches you. So how do you start owning things like the 1%? How do you flip the script and go from surviving to building wealth? Here's the framework I live by, the 25-15-50-10 rule. I built it so that no matter your income, you can start managing your money like the wealthiest people do. Because here's the thing, it's not about how much you make, it's about how you manage what you make. I'm not just another guy shouting into the internet. I've lived this. I use this exact method to go from having nothing, no money, no degrees, to becoming a multimillionaire. Let's walk through it. Step 1. Put 25% toward growth. This is your future fund, the 25% that goes to work for you. And when I say growth, I don't mean some vague Instagram motivational personal growth. I'm talking about putting your money into things that actually grow in value, tangible assets, real investments. Most people, they get paid, cover their bills, then blow the rest on forgettable junk. Little dopamine hits that disappear by the next morning. And this is why 99% of people stay broke. It's no accident either. The system is designed to keep you broke, to make you feel rich for 1 week, then leave you desperate by the end of the month. That way you have to go back to work, again and again. It's modern-day slavery, just dressed up with paychecks and smartphones. Think about it. Slaves used to work for food, water, and shelter. Today, most people do the exact same thing, except they're told they're free. You fight that system by taking 25% of your income and putting it into assets. Things that grow, things that earn, things that one day could pay you more than your job. And I already know what you're thinking. I don't have enough money to invest. Yes, you do. You just have to prioritize it. Let me show you something powerful. Billy versus Phil, the power of starting early. Let's say Billy starts investing $200 a month at age 20. Phil, on the other hand, waits until he's 30, but he invests $300 a month to try to catch up. Fast forward to when they're both 60. Time to do some math. Billy invested for 40 years. That's $96,000 total. Phil invested for 30 years. That's $108,000 total. Phil put in more money, right? So he should come out ahead? Wrong. Assuming a 10% annual return, which is the long-term average for the S&P 500, Phil ends up with about $678,000. Billy, he finishes with over $1.26 million. He invested less money but walked away with nearly double. That's the power of compound growth. And that's why the best time to start is now, even if it's just a small amount. Step 2, choose your growth assets. So where exactly should this 25% go? Think of your investment options on a spectrum, from low risk to high risk. Low risk, steady growth, index funds. Start here, seriously. If you're just starting out, don't try to be a Wall Street genius. Index funds, like those tracking the S&P 500, are a safe way to get a slice of the entire market. No guesswork, no constant checking, just slow, steady growth. Real estate, or REITs, got more to work with? Real estate can be great. If you can't buy a rental property, check out REITs, basically real estate index funds. You get exposure without needing a down payment. Skills. This one is underrated. Investing in a skill that makes you money, copywriting, sales, coding, video editing, is the fastest ROI you'll ever see. No one can take that skill away from you. You can use it to create income forever. Online businesses. Now we're getting a little higher risk. Things like drop shipping, affiliate marketing, or digital products can pay off massively, but expect to fail a few times before you find what clicks. Individual stocks. Yes, you might pick the next Tesla, but unless you really know what you're doing, this is gambling. So if you want to dabble, keep it fun and small. Don't build your future on it. Alternative investments. Crypto, NFTs, gold, sneakers. Can you make money with these? Absolutely. Can you lose everything overnight? Also yes. These are moonshots, exciting but not your foundation. Start with index funds and high-income skills. Build the base, add the risky stuff after you've got the foundation. How to get started, for real. If you're in the UK, one of the best places to invest is a stocks and shares ISA. You can put in up to £20,000 per year, and your returns are completely tax-free. Platforms like Trading 212 make this super simple to set up. If you're in the US, go for a Roth IRA. You invest post-tax money, but all your gains grow tax-free, and you don't pay a dime in taxes when you withdraw later. You can invest up to $7,000 per year if you're under 50. These accounts aren't just for beginners. Billionaires use them too. Peter Thiel, one of PayPal's co-founders, reportedly turned his Roth IRA into billions by putting early-stage investments in there. Don't just open the US index fund, e.g. S&P 500. A piece of America's biggest companies, Apple, Amazon, Coca-Cola, you name it. International Index Fund gives you exposure to companies outside the US or UK like Toyota, Nestle, and Samsung. Bond Fund, more stable, less volatile, helps balance out your portfolio during market dips. And a pro tip, look for accumulation funds, not distribution ones. Accumulation reinvests your dividends automatically, which growth more compound growth. Once you've got these funds set up, automate everything. Set your percentages, say 60% S&P 500, 30% international, 10% bonds, and let the platform do the rest. Boom, your growth engine is live. All right, we've covered the first 25% of your income. That's the money you send out into the world to grow and work for you. Now let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle. 15% for stability. This is the money that keeps you in the game. Because the truth is, it's not just about growing your wealth. It's also about protecting it. Most people don't fail financially because they didn't invest. They fail because one unexpected problem knocks everything over like a house of cards. Maybe the car breaks down. Maybe you lose your job. Maybe your kid ends up in the hospital. And because they never build a safety net, they have to drain their savings, rack up credit card debt, or worst of all, sell their investments at the worst possible time. That's where your stability fund comes in. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was 18, I needed a car. I didn't have cash, so I took out a loan. Then that car broke down. And suddenly, I wasn't just without a ride. I was drowning in debt, stressed out, and working just to stay afloat. That one car problem set me back an entire year. If I had a stability fund, just a few months' worth of expenses tucked away, I would have been fine. No stress, no debt spiral, just a blip on the radar. So here's how you build your own. Step 1. Calculate your stability target. Look at your monthly essentials: rent, food, transport, insurance. Let's say that adds up to $1,500. Multiply that by 5. Boom, $7,500. That's your target. It's not a random number. It's based on the idea that if something goes wrong, you've got 5 months to figure things out without panicking. And if you think that's extreme, well, you haven't lived through real chaos yet. Because when life punches you in the face, it doesn't give you time to prepare. Most people have a spending problem, sure, but more than that, they have a stability problem. And this 15% solves that. US index fund, e.g. S&P 500, a piece of America's biggest companies, Apple, Amazon, Coca-Cola, you name it. International index fund gives you exposure to companies outside the US or UK, like Toyota, Nestle, and Samsung. Bond fund, more stable, less volatile, helps balance out your portfolio during market dips. And a pro tip, look for accumulation funds, not distribution ones. Accumulation reinvests your dividends automatically, which means more compound growth. Once you've got these funds set up, automate everything. Set your percentages, say 60% S&P 500, 30% international, 10% bonds, and let the platform do the rest. Boom, your growth engine is live. All right, we've covered the first 25% of your income. That's the money you send out into the world to grow and work for you. Now, let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle. 15% for stability. This is the money that keeps you in the game, because the truth is, it's not just about growing your wealth, it's also about protecting it. Most people don't fail financially because they didn't invest. They fail because one unexpected problem knocks everything over like a house of cards. Maybe the car breaks down, maybe you lose your job, maybe your kid ends up in the hospital. And because they never built a safety net, they have to drain their savings, rack up credit card debt, or worst of all, sell their investments at the worst possible time. That's where your stability fund comes in. I learned this lesson the hard way. When I was 18, I needed a car. I didn't have cash, so I took out a loan. Then that car broke down, and suddenly I wasn't just without a ride, I was drowning in debt, stressed out, and working just to stay afloat. That one car problem set me back an entire year. If I had a stability fund, just a few months' worth of expenses tucked away, I would have been fine. No stress, no debt spiral, just a blip on the radar. So, here's how you build your own. Step 1. Calculate your stability target. Look at your monthly essentials: rent, food, transport, insurance. Let's say that adds up to $1,500. Multiply that by 5. Boom, $7,500. That's your target. It's not a random number. It's based on the idea that if something goes wrong, you've got 5 months to figure things out without panicking. And if you think that's extreme, well, you haven't lived through real chaos yet. Because when life punches you in the face, it doesn't give you time to prepare. Most people have a spending problem, sure, but more than that, they have a stability problem. And this 15% solves that. Step 2, where to keep it. This is crucial. Your emergency fund needs to be in a place that meets 3 criteria. Instant access. If you can't touch the money when you need it, it's useless. Some people lock it up in accounts with withdrawal penalties or waiting periods. Don't do that. 0 risk. This is not investment money. Don't put it in stocks. Don't gamble it. This money isn't for growing. It's for protecting. Keeps up with inflation, sort of. A regular savings account will lose value over time due to inflation. So aim for a high-yield savings account that earns 4%, 5% interest. Right now, SoFi, Ally, and Marcus by Goldman Sachs are solid options if you're in the US. They're FDIC insured, so your money is safe. If you're elsewhere, check out the highest yielding accounts in your region, but make sure they meet those 3 rules. Step 3, stack it fast. Now that you know how much you need and where to store it, the next step is building it up fast. Here are 3 tactics that help me and can help you too. Tactic 1, mirror the 25% rule. The same way you automate investing 25% for growth, automate the 15% into your stability fund. The key is to treat it like a bill, non-negotiable. It's not extra savings, it's survival. Tactic 2, the replacement promise. Anytime you dip into your emergency fund, you must replace it. Think of it like a promise to your future self. Let's say you ding your car and need to spend $400 from the fund. That's okay. That's what it's there for. But your next paycheck, that first $400 goes straight back in. No excuses. Tactic 3, save by spending. This one flips your brain a little. Every time you don't buy something dumb, a $60 dinner, a $100 jacket, whatever, transfer that amount straight into your emergency fund. This builds a habit of conscious saving. You're rewarding yourself for not spending. Once your stability fund is fully stocked, you've got options. You can roll that 15% into your growth fund to accelerate wealth, or shift it into the final category we'll talk about later, your joy fund. But before we go there, we need to tackle the big one, 50% for essentials. This is the money that keeps you alive. The food, the roof, the electricity, the basics. It's the 50% that feeds you, not your ego. And trust me, this is where most people go wrong. In fact, over 60% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck. Not because they don't earn enough, but because they've convinced themselves they need things that are actually just luxuries. Let me give you an example. Back when I started making decent money, I had this friend. He always showed up looking like $1,000,000. Fresh sneakers, designer jacket, Rolex on his wrist, but here's the thing. He had $43.20 in his bank. So how do you build your own system for essentials? Step 1, redefine essential. The biggest mistake people make is thinking everything they want is something they need. Essentials are the things that keep you alive and functioning. Rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, basic clothing, health and life insurance. You know what doesn't count? Takeout, subscriptions you forgot about, a gym you haven't seen since January, new iPhones every year, endless shopping hauls from Amazon. The average person is spending 60–70% of their income on what they think are essentials. Locking it in at 50% forces you to be honest, and that honesty unlocks freedom. Step 2, shrink the 2 wealth killers. Let's talk about the 2 biggest budget vampires. 1. Housing. Rent or mortgage is the #1 expense for most people, so find creative ways to shrink it. Get roommates, rent out a spare room. House hack, live in part of the property, rent out the rest, move back home temporarily while you build your financial base. If you can keep housing at half of your essentials budget, 25% of your total income, you're winning. 2. Transport. Car payments are wealth killers. People lease brand new cars for status, not need, and end up paying interest on a depreciating asset. You don't need a flashy car, you need a reliable one. Buy used, pay cash, keep maintenance low, walk or cycle when you can. Stack these habits and you'll be shocked how much you save. Step 3. Use rules, not willpower. Willpower is a lie. It fades. It breaks down when you're stressed, tired, or emotional. The 1% don't rely on it. They use systems. Here's one of my favorite systems, the 7-day rule. If you see something you want to buy, wait 7 days, that's it, no buying on impulse. If, after 7 days, you still want it, ask yourself 2 more questions. Am I buying this for the brand or the value? If it's the brand, skip it. If it's real, long-lasting value, maybe. Will this actually improve my life? If not, don't waste your money trying to impress strangers or kill boredom. When you do this, you'll be amazed at how often the urge fades and your bank balance stays happy. Essentials aren't exciting, but they are everything. And once you master your essentials, you unlock the capacity to enjoy the final 10% of your money without guilt. And that's exactly what we'll dive into next, the Joy Fund. The piece most people skip, then burn out and wonder why saving feels so empty. We've gone through growth, stability, and essentials. That's 90% of your income managed like the 1%. Now it's time to talk about the last 10%. And let me tell you, this is the part people ignore until they burn out and wonder why it all feels so pointless. It's time to talk about joy. 10% for joy, the guilt-free fund. This is the money you spend on you. No guilt, no shame, no second guessing. It's the money you spend to feel alive, to create memories, to maintain relationships, and to remind yourself why you're being so disciplined in the first place. If you skip this, saving starts to feel like punishment. And what happens when we punish ourselves for too long? We rebel. We blow it all on something dumb. Then we feel guilty and the cycle repeats. That's not sustainable. What is sustainable? Making room for joy on purpose. Step 1, define what joy means to you. For me, joy comes in 3 categories. Vacations. I used to think vacations were just a luxury, a reward you splurge on after you've made it. Big mistake. When I was grinding to build my businesses, I burned out. Like seriously, I got shingles. From stress. The doctor looked at me and said, "You need a break, you need a vacation." So I took one, my first ski trip ever. And I realized something. That vacation didn't just relax me, it reset me. I came back with more clarity, energy, and focus than I'd had in years. Vacations aren't a luxury, they're a reset button. Even a cheap weekend getaway can completely recharge you. Nights out and experiences. This one hits home. In my early years, I ignored this part of life. I skipped dinners, missed birthdays, said no to concerts. I told myself I was focused, but really, I was isolating myself. Eventually, I looked around and realized I had money, but no social life. No one to share the success with. That's not winning. Spending time with people you care about isn't just fun, it's essential to long-term happiness. Gifts for loved ones, not for yourself, for them. Because joy isn't always about what you get, it's about what you give. It could be something small, something thoughtful, doesn't have to be expensive. It's about the connection, the gesture, the reminder that they matter. And yeah, I used to overlook this too. But I've come to realize these small moments are what we remember. These are the investments that actually compound in meaning over time. Step 2, preload your joy fund. Here's how you make it happen. Open a separate bank account and call it your joy jar. Literally name it that. Doesn't matter if it's with a different bank or just a sub-account. What matters is visibility and separation. Then, automate a 10% deposit into it every month. If you make $2,000, that's $200 going straight into the joy jar. Make $5,000, that's $500. And here's the trick, spend it with intention. That way, when your friends invite you out for dinner or you find something you've had your eye on. Let's recap the 25-15-50-10 rule. Let's pull it all together. 25% goes toward growth, assets, investments, skills, things that earn for you while you sleep. 15% goes towards stability, your emergency fund, your financial buffer, so life can't knock you out with one punch. 50% covers essentials, your rent, food, transport, and actual needs, not fake essentials you tell yourself you need. 10% is for joy, the dinners, the gifts, the vacations, the things that refill your cup and make the whole journey worthwhile. That's it. That's the framework. It's not a trick. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a system, one that helps you live better today and build wealth for tomorrow. And the best part? You don't need to be rich to start. You just need to start with whatever you're making now. Even if you're on minimum wage, even if you're freelancing, even if you're inconsistent, you can use this rule to get in control, build momentum, and eventually break into that 1%. A few final thoughts. Here's the truth that people don't want to admit. Wealth is boring. It's not flashy. It's not about Lambos or designer shoes. It's about systems, quiet routines, consistent behavior. But if you follow those boring systems long enough, they give you something very exciting. Freedom. Freedom from debt, freedom from stress, freedom to say yes to things you care about, freedom to say no to things you hate. So if you want to manage your money like a 1%, stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an owner, because that's what the 1% really have. They own. If you found this helpful and want to go deeper, I've got another video waiting for you right over here. But before you click, hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel grow and brings more of this kind of content to your feed. Thanks for watching. Now go take control of your money so your money can stop controlling you.